Speedway.
Well, it wasn't the prettiest of starts, but the number 17 of Larry Harmon charges on to take the early lead. Mike St. John jumps into second. On the number 69 of Raymond Johnson holds down third. Watch out, we got a car sideways in turn 3. That's Tony Anderson.
Yeah, a couple of them tangled there. The number 4 of Rich Fenwick, and it looks like Dwayne Lee and Tony Anderson's car have come to a stop down in the third and fourth turn area. And it looks like the number 23 of Eddie Van Meter has cut down a right front tire on his car. And it looks like also they may get the yellow flag. And yes, we do. We go yellow. So the yellow flag comes out. When this car gets a little loose down the front straightaway, breaks traction a little bit, wiggles the car up a bit, and then shakes loose from Larry Harmon. Harmon drops back. Now Raymond Johnson comes up to second place. Here's Tony Anderson moving around Larry Harmon, and that's the battle at third. They're side by side through the intersection.
Well, unfortunately, he's a lap down. It looks like to the rest of the racing field. He is in there third lap down right now. It's top two cars running away at the moment. Mike St. John and Raymond Johnson out in front, leading 1 and 2 with about, we'll call it 10 car lengths between them. And the third place running number 17 of Larry Harmon.
Harmon now in fourth place, and then Charles Coles going fifth. At sixth now, we'll move up Leonard Basham in the number 6 position. But right now, it looks like he's got a great battle with the number 41 machine of Bruce Tunney. Tunney's car gets a little loose out of turn 2, glides down to the infield and into the grass, and Tunney drops back to the tail of the field. They're through the intersection. Mike St. John is the race leader, and Raymond Johnson running at second.
All right, that's your top order there with 44 laps remaining in this event. 50 laps in all. The total tonight for our Outlaw Figure Eights. First of 6 big points events here for the Outlaw Figure Eights, the newest points division here at Louisville Speedway. Well, proud season champion at the end of the 1996 year. There's still a lot of racing to go. That's anybody's ball game at the moment. Although right now, the number 12 of Mike St. John is setting up in front. He's got about a car length advantage over the number 69 of Raymond Johnson. And the slower car in front of him, though, the number 41 of Bruce Tunney. He may be getting set to roll back down to the field.
Battle towards the mid portion of the pack now. Actually, the front group of the back markers and Dan Wright in the number 0 machine, along with the 44 of Jerry Brown and the number 4 of Rich Fenwick, battle together in a tight pack as they head out of turn number 2 now, charging towards the intersection. Wright is able to hold his own. Now Jerry Brown zips around him and picks up the position. The number 4 machine of Rich Fenwick and then the 94 machine of Fred Bear also make their way around Dan Wright. The race leaders scoot through the intersection another time. And Bruce Tunney in the number 41 machine is fighting to try to stay on the lead lap. However, Mike St. John has reeled him in to within a car length now. Just about a car length and a half back from our race leader, Mike St. John, is Louisville, Kentucky's Raymond Johnson in the Bobby Carter prepared racing Chevrolet. And then Tony Anderson in the number 42 machine, although according to the scoreboard, he must be back a bit as Larry Harmon in 17 is at the number 3 spot, followed by Charles Coles, and then rounding out the top 5, Leonard Basham in the number 9.
Leonard Basham is circle. He is one of few of the Outlaw Figure Eight events here over the past. Right now, glad to see him back, as Frank mentioned earlier, after that horrendous crash. Season. 38 laps now remaining on the event right now as the number 12 continues to lead, but he's going to have a lot of challenge here with number 69 of Raymond Johnson as Raymond's reeled him in just a bit as they head off through turns 3 and 4.
Leaders back into turns 3 and 4. Bruce Tunney in the 41 still on the lead lap, but right ahead of our race leaders as they head towards the intersection. Fred Bear locks up the brakes and allows the leaders to pass on by. They're down into turns 1 and 2 another time. And I tell you, Dean Taylor, it looks like Raymond Johnson definitely brought a lot of race car with him here tonight.
Well, indeed he has, as he is holding on to that tail end of your race leader right now on to turns 3 and 4. Back around the start-finish line. We are 36 laps away from the finish line. And as he continues to be in top 5, a little close ball that time. Rich Fenwick, who's in towards the back of the pack, getting close to our 3rd and 4th place winning cars, which are Larry Harmon and Charles Coles, respectively. Number 17 remaining 3rd, number 7, 1 and 4. Then on back to Leonard Basham here, holding down the lead.
Race leaders scoot through the intersection. Raymond Johnson takes a look down to the inside of Mike St. John. Drops back in line again, and the leaders have dropped back a bit now from Bruce Tunney. Dan Wright out of Louisville, Kentucky, set to go a lap down now as Mike St. John has reeled in his Ford, and as they move out of turn number 4, takes a look to the outside, now the inside, heading back into turns 3 and 4. Raymond Johnson right there on Mike St. John's back bumper. They move to the inside of Dan Wright and make the pass out of turn 2.
Right, conscientiously sweeping up line, let your race leaders pass on through, and they do. That opened up a little breathing room for the number 41. Bruce Tunney was trying desperately to stay on that little lap. 54, Mike Ogle is on the line. Those race leaders pass on by as they come sweeping out of turns 2 back to the intersection.
Didn't see what happened to Tony Anderson earlier in the race. He was up front among the race leaders. However, according to our scoreboard, they are not posting him inside the top 5. So Anderson definitely had a problem and is no longer on the lead lap. But again, up front with the leaders. And Dean, it looks like Anderson's car is every bit as fast as both St. John and Johnson's.
Oh, he's staying right with them. What happened earlier, though, was when he got linked up with those cars and rock bumpers and was stuck there and didn't get away until after the leaders had already passed him. That's when he got down to the rest of the field. But as you correctly pointed out, he's got every bit as much horsepower as your top runners have, and he's been very much right with them because he's holding his own definitely. 31 laps remaining right now as Mike St. John is out in front.
St. John has pulled away from Raymond Johnson now and has opened his advantage up to about 10 car lengths. He reels in Mike Ogle as they head down into turns 1 and 2. It makes the pass on Ogle, so Mike Ogle is at least 1 lap down. Raymond Johnson now at 2nd position and almost a half straightaway behind. Now Charles Coles in his number 71 machine at 3rd place. Then Larry Harmon at 4th, and then Leonard Basham rounding out the top 5. So let's look at the top 5 now as we have 29 laps remaining and we're approaching the halfway point.
All right, coming up on that halfway point, is Frank looking out with the 12 machines showing the way to the field. Of course, as we mentioned, see the Outlaw figure rates at least 5 more times throughout the 1996 racing season. Welcome to our racing home here at Louisville Speedway. Newest points producing division. Actually, one of the newest points producing division. The other is our Papa John's Thunderdome.
Our 8th racing division here at Louisville Speedway, the Outlaw Figure 8s. Can you imagine that? 8 racing divisions at one speedway. Of course, when you spread them out over a 2-night period, and of course the Outlaw Figure 8s making but 6 appearances this year, it's not too bad in terms of that many race cars in the pit area at one time. But nonetheless, Louisville Speedway is your ultimate race place in 1996 for all sorts of racing action. Everything from monster trucks to pickup trucks and everything in between.
Of course, you can forget the famous Demolition Derbies that will be back for another time or two this season as well. And of course, the illustrious racing champions will return and will name names coming up in the upcoming weeks. And we can tell you that Richard Petty will be the grand marshal for this event.
As we near the halfway point, we want to point out that the USAC Midgets and Sprints will also be visiting Louisville Speedway. Stop by the Speedway and pick up your 1996 racing schedule. 25 laps here to go tonight at Louisville Speedway. Mike St. John looking for his 2nd career feature event victory here at Louisville Speedway. He is the race leader. Raymond Johnson out of Louisville, Kentucky, currently at 2nd. And then going 3rd, it's Charles Coles out of the Indianapolis area, followed by Louisville, Kentucky's Larry Harmon and Jeffersonville, Indiana's Leonard Basham.
Those are your top 5 cars. Of course, another big event coming up this season as well is that the Craftsman Cup Series as it returns for the 2nd year here at Louisville Speedway. That'll be the 4th credit 220 coming up on the 2nd July right here. You can call the Speedway box office during the week at 966-2277 to reserve your tickets and get an advance and save a little bit on the regular reserve grandstand admission. And call us here and get in on one of the great events on the schedule for this year. The race car Craftsman Cup Series come back to town for the 4th credit 220.
The interval between 1st and 2nd place has stabilized some. It's about 8 car lengths now, and Raymond, it looks like, has made up some distance on Mike St. John. Johnson sweeping past the number 4 machine of Rich Fenwick who is no longer on the lead lap and lays about 8 car lengths behind our race leader, Mike St. John. St. John judges the intersection and makes his way around the number 23 machine of Eddie Van Meter. Again, at third place, we have the number 71 machine now of Charles Coles, and then Larry Harmon and his number 17 machine is currently on the scoreboard at fourth. Leonard Basham rounding out the top 5. And Harmon and the number 0 machine of Dan Wright, it looked like they clipped each other coming out of turn 4. Harmon goes on a spin, and he's going to try to put it back into the lineup just ahead of our race leader, but he goes a lap down. So a tough break for Larry Harmon. It's Leonard Basham now moving up into the number 4 position.
Indeed, that will juggle up the tail end of our top 5. We'll check the scoring and timing here as they decide who the fifth place running car is going to be. It looks like number 23 of Eddie Van Meter listed as fifth currently with 19, make that 18 laps remaining right now.
Okay, and we look in the interval between Leonard Basham and Eddie Van Meter, and as Basham, it looks like it's about a straightaway or so is the interval between Leonard Basham's number 9 car in the 4th place spot, and then Eddie Van Meter at 5th place. So about a full straightaway separates 4th and 5th. Meanwhile, Harmon goes for the brakes again at the intersection. It's not been a good night for Larry Harmon. He started up front, but he couldn't keep it there, Dean.
Indeed, as he said, this track has been his best running and his worst entering. And tonight, not being very related to it. As he's had a time of it, holding up to the top 5 there. He, of course, had the lead early on. Only losing on the race back to the yellow. Currently speeding with Mike St. John. St. John out in front right now has a bit of a lead over the second place running number 69 of Raymond Johnson. We'll call it about a half straightaway as Johnson pulls around the slower car of Mike Ogle, and we'll try and reel in the race leader as it's all open between first and second now.
Guess we're going to see what Raymond really has in terms of race car. Whoa, a lot of smoke out of one car heading down into turns 3 and 4, up in a plume of smoke, and the fog is so heavy down in that area of the track we cannot see the car number, but it looks like it's definitely a cooling system or possibly an engine let go on one of the cars. The green flag remains out as, again, Raymond Johnson has 14 laps to try to chase down Mike St. John for that number 1 position.
All right, the driver climbing from his car, still unable to catch a number on that. 14 laps remaining. It is Mike St. John out in front. Tony Anderson going on a slight spin there for a minute. He gets the handle back in control up as the green flag stays with his 13 laps remaining. St. John out in front. Johnson still running in second. Then on back to Charles Coles in third. Leonard Basham in fourth, and Eddie Van Meter running fifth on the field.
It was Mike Ogle in the number 54 machine, the car that apparently lost the cooling system or an engine. A huge fog of smoke following that car onto the backstretch area here at Louisville Speedway. Mike Ogle sideline here with 12 laps remaining. Your race leader again, Mike St. John, out of the Indianapolis, Indiana area. The race leader, and the interval is down to about 7 car lengths. We'll make that 6 heading down into turns 3 and 4. And it looks like Raymond Johnson may be cutting down the distance between himself and St. John as they approach the 10-lap mark. We are showing 11 to go now.
That's right, single digits as Raymond has reeled in the race leader just a little bit, but right now he's got a car in between him and number 41 of Bruce Cuddy. He is going to be the next obstacle for Raymond to try and maneuver around the number 69 machine as they head off through turns 1 and 2. We are 10 laps away from a finish here in our Outlaw Figuring after the first one for 1996.
Just trying to observe where Raymond is able to make up the ground on St. John. It looks like it's about 30 or 40 feet off the turns. Raymond's car takes a little bit more of a jump than St. John's does. The question is now, with 10 laps remaining and a lap car in the way, who is no longer in the way now, he's gotten around Bruce Tunney, does he have the time to catch St. John? They're back into turns 3 and 4, coming up on 8 laps to go.
A little heavy congestion at the intersection would be a nice thing for Raymond right now. If St. John was to get on the minors as they pass through and thread the needle there with the number 9 of Leonard Basham. So your race leaders are now at the same time as your 4th place running car.
Looks like Basham slows for the race leaders as they move on through, and it looks like Raymond Johnson continues to make up ground on Mike St. John. The interval down to about 4 car lengths now and 7 laps remaining. They're down into turns 1 and 2. Again, in third place, Charles Coles out of Indianapolis, Indiana. Leonard Basham out of Jeffersonville, about a half lap behind the race leaders. And now they're posting up Jerry Brown in the number 44 on the scoreboard as the 5th place running car. Coming up on 6 to go now.
Indeed, 6 to go. This coming across the start-finish line as they reel off another lap. It is the number 12 of Mike St. John still on the front. We got a spot here in the turn 2 area. It's the 0 of Dan Wright. Dan looks like he's trying to refire his car. Jerry Brown going on a spin over in the turn 3 area. He is down to the infield. Wright gets his car refired. We'll stay with Green Flag Racing Front.
It was a tough break for Jerry Brown. Dan Wright stalled the car coming out of turn number 2. Jerry Brown in 5th place on the leaderboard, trying to make his way around Wright's car, just caught the back bumper of the car and cut down a left rear tire. It looks like Brown's headed for the pit area. That'll bring up the number 41 machine of Bruce Tunney in the number 5 position. Got 4 to go now, and the race leaders move off into turns 1 and 2, and the interval is down to 2 car lanes.
Indeed, Johnson really drawing closer now as we get into the waiting moments of this 50-lap event for our Outlaw Figure 8s. Number 12 of Mike St. John, the number 69 of Brandon Johnson. Across the start-finish line, just 3 laps away from a finish. Looks like Johnson was going to go for the outside that time. Takes the better off with
He dove down to the inside of St. John, heading down into turns 1 and 2. Dropped back a bit, but it looks like Raymond may have enough car to go for that lead spot. At least he's been challenging. Now he's dropped back about 2 car lanes, and they head back into turns 1 and 2. 2 laps remaining.
Not sure if St. John had a little extra width to turn up for what. Dan Wright is going to be there in front of your race leader, slowing him down as the white flag comes out, right?
White flag's out, and they're off down through the intersection, side by side now, and packed up behind Dan Wright. They dive down to the inside of Wright's car as they head over to turn number 2. Out of turn number 2, it's St. John, then Raymond Johnson, bumper to bumper, as they head down into turns 3 and 4. Dean Taylor, pick them up.
Then to turns 3 and 4. It's now Johnson pulling up to the inside. Crowd jumps up to their feet, and it's going to be Raymond Johnson maneuvering around and taking the victory on the last lap, right?
One of the most exciting finishes in figure 8 racing just occurred here tonight at Louisville Speedway as Raymond Johnson closed from 8 car lengths down to 6, down to 4 car lengths, then made it bumper to bumper, then dropped back about 2 car lengths on the last lap, last turn, last lap, coming out down to the finish line, and the